coming up on Nittany Game Week.
We're playing for PAV this year. We got to get him one this year, get him a national championship.
After 32 years at the helm, men's volleyball coach Mark Pavlik announces he will retire at the end of the season. Why he tells his guys before the year begins and how they react to his decision.
Yeah, all of this has happened really since October. I mean, it's been crazy.
She's one of the most respected writers on the Penn State football beat. Audrey Snyder recounts a wild fall that leads to some shocking upsets and a coaching change. And final preparations are being made for outdoor hockey, a sneak peek at the rink in West Shore home field at Beaver Stadium. This is Nittany Game Week. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Nittany Game Week. I'm Todd Sadowski alongside Ryan Yee to showcase the best and brightest when it comes to Penn State sports, and that includes a legendary volleyball coach set to retire at the end of this season.
Yeah, and the men's hockey team continues to skate past the competition, and the wrestling team, well, it's Penn State wrestling, and that means total domination.
First, a return to one of the most historic venues in college sports, a weekend sweep of the Irish on the ice, and we shout out some Nittany Lions, still going for a Super Bowl title in our opening drive.
This is entertainment, right? And it's supposed to be about having a cool experience. Yeah, we want to win and we want to do everything right, but we also want to make some decisions. So we're having a lot of fun trying to do this.
Third straight year, the men's basketball team hosts a game in Rec Hall. It is a whiteout, of course, with the crowd on top of the action. Wisconsin is this year's opponent as Coach Rhodes tries to get his guys on track Thursday night. 7 of the team's 9 wins are at home, and they're right with the Badgers early in this one. Only senior on the team, Josh Reed, a pretty spin move and fadeaway in the lane to connect. A few minutes later, they push the tempo off the rebound. PSU takes a brief lead, but they fall to Wisconsin and remain winless in the Big Ten. The women's team travels to the left coast to face Washington on Wednesday night. They hang with the Huskies in the first half. Junior Gracie Merkel, the centerpiece, establishes position down low. Banks at home. Washington with no one to cover her inside, so they go back to Merkel again. Team high 19 for the Kentucky native. Another player from the Bluegrass State gets involved. It's Shaylin Steele with the steal. Sneaks up, snags the ball, and then heads the other way for a bucket. The Lions pull within 1 but fall off in the second half to lose. They are 7-13 overall.
We now flip the calendar to 2026, which has been very good for the men's hockey team. They get back on the ice after the new year and collect 5 wins in their first 6 games, outscoring opponents over that span 25-10. Now, last weekend in Pagula Arena, they take a pair from Notre Dame in a Game 1. It's Wexford, PA native Matt DeMarco who steals the show. The junior nets a hat trick as the Nittany Lions cruise past the Fighting Irish as they tack on the empty netter to finish off the game. Now, on Saturday, fans barely in their seats before the home team is able to strike. Sophomore J.J. Weebush powers in and finishes 17 seconds after faceoff. It's 1-zip PSU. Freshman Gavin McKenna is the presumed #1 pick in the upcoming NHL draft. He's also the #1 star in this one. Scores from the cross-ice pass, number 72, puts the Lions in front 3-2. He was not done though. McKenna scores later for his first collegiate multi-goal game. He adds an assist for a 3-point night as they double up Notre Dame 6-3.
Changed what we know about our team in a way of confidence. Like, you know, you play 2 men down in this league and come away with a win and a sweep. We feel better about our team because of that necessity. Certainly we would like it to be rectified through health. Like, we wouldn't want to go through it again, but we did learn that we have a great next man up mentality and we can be successful.
Penn State heads into weekend play at 5th-ranked Wisconsin, 8-4 in the Big Ten. They are 11-2 at home, only 5-4 away from Pagula Arena. So why don't we take now a trip over to the Gridiron, Todd? Got some Penn State football representation in some big games in the NFL.
3 former Penn Staters are on teams making appearances in the conference championship games. Jesse Luketa for the Rams, New England Patriots offensive lineman Caden Wallace, and most notable of all is Chris Stoll with the Seattle Seahawks. Now, Stoll's played the entire season with Seattle as the team's primary long snapper. Seahawks took care of business against the Niners, so Stoll had a busy day as he appears in 10 snaps in the divisional contest. They host the Rams on Sunday, while the Patriots travel to Denver. Up next, he's been with PSU's volleyball program as a player, assistant coach, and for over 3 decades as the head coach. Coach Pavlik's retiring, how the players react to his decision, and the extra motivation it gives them this season. More Nittany Game Week is on the way.
The opening drive is sponsored by R&R Express. Every shipment moved contributes to autism research and inclusion through the Excel Foundation. Learn more at wearerr.com.
These are more than just trucks. Every shipment moved by the R&R Express family of companies contributes to the Excel Foundation for Autism Research and Inclusion, funding safe spaces like the sensory room at Penn State's Beaver Stadium and a special event sensory trailer, and giving thousands that were unheard a voice.
Now is the time to amplify non-speaking voices and drive meaningful change.
These trucks are powered by purpose.
Every week, our groundskeepers are meticulously mowing, painting, repairing any damage from the previous game in preparation for Saturday. Our contributions to the team are providing safe playing surfaces for the athletes to showcase their abilities on. There's a lot of history here. Being able to be a part of that has been incredibly special for me.
Nittany Game Week is brought to you by West Shore Home, official partner of Penn State football.
Welcome back to Nittany Game Week. To put it in volleyball terms, men's head coach Mark Pavlik is set to retire at the end of the season. He played at PSU, was an assistant on the 1994 national championship team, and is now in his 32nd year at the helm. He's certainly at peace with his decision, and his players are highly motivated to give Coach Pav one more special run. Nothing out of the ordinary for this volleyball practice. A little warm-up, some specialty work, and then time to ramp it up a bit. This is no ordinary season for the Nittany Lions as they take one last ride together.
We're playing for Pav this year. It's his last year, all he's done for us. We got to get him one this year, get him a national championship.
Would be very appropriate to pair a second title with the one in 2008. The confidence has swelled after last year's late run to the NCAA quarterfinals.
I think the guys came back into the gym saying, hey, we can do something here. You got a little different type of personality with this team that certainly the first 4 matches of the season has helped along with that.
Coach Pavlik let all of his guys know early this is his last season. He did not want to spring the news after the final game, when they will likely have a smaller travel squad in postseason play.
It's real important to me to be able to stand in front of our guys and tell them, here's my plans. Nothing's going to change for the rest of the year. Let's just get at it.
Coach also references the current turbulence, as he calls it, of college athletics. He didn't want to catch the administration off guard with his decision.
I wanted to make sure that this program was well taken care of, and the thought process behind what to do next is not something that's going to be a knee-jerk reaction.
The reaction from his players, as always, one of total respect and appreciation for one of the legendary coaches of the sport.
Mark Pavlik will come into practice every day, and without fail, every single day, goes to every single player and says, how are you doing today? How's your classes? How's your life? That's the first thing he does every day. And sometimes, I'm a Ravens fan and he's a Steelers fan, so he got me on that a little bit, but, he's a great dude.
I don't think there's a coach in the NCAA right now that has the experiences and knowledge of this game that he does.
Coach Pav is fully aware there's going to be emotional moments during his short time left as the head coach. He's also sure the program will continue their winning tradition moving forward.
The world keeps spinning. Next year, guys will still be in this gym, and they'll still be doing the good things that we expect out of Nittany Lion men's volleyball.
We plan on sitting down with Coach Pavlik at the end of the year for a more detailed retrospective piece about his time in Happy Valley. The men's volleyball team is in Illinois this weekend for a pair of games against 15th-ranked McKendree.
It's now time to head to the mats, and I mean, what goes more hand in hand than winning and Penn State wrestling? They continue those winning ways against the highly coveted rival, the Iowa Hawkeyes, in a 1-versus-3 duel in the Midwest. Hard to say it's a rivalry when you've been as dominant as the Nittany Lions have, with a 32-3 victory where they won nearly every single bout. PSU has now won their last 5 meetings against Iowa in a row. The night was headlined by a couple high-stakes matchups. At 165, number 1 ranked Mitchell Messenbrink took down number 3 Michael Caliendo. A takedown in each period gave the Nittany Lions a 17-3 lead. Then an upset. Sophomore Rocco Welsh, ranked 4th at 184, won a thriller over number 1 Angelo Ferrari. 2 big matches that feeds into a team win that keeps Penn State perfect on the season and in conference play. Circled on the calendar next, everyone has their eyes on a February matchup with Ohio State, which is lining up to be a clash of the top 2 ranked programs in the country. Up next, our Impact interview with one of the top sports writers in Pennsylvania, Audrey Snyder, how she describes a wild season of Penn State football and how she navigates the changing landscape of sports media. Nittany Game Week returns after this.
Good morning.
Door install. Let's show these guys how it's done. What's up around here? Oh, no. All part of the plan.
Taking doors off, putting doors back on. What a world.
So I just gotta come back tomorrow and finish the trim.
There's a reason West Shore Home is America's most trusted home remodeler.
That looks good.
West Shore Home, remodeling reimagined.
He's trying to get people to know how to watch PTN.
This should be easy.
Uh-huh. He thinks that streaming happens in nature.
How do we sell PTN?
Cable?
Broadcast.
Newspaper.
Streaming?
Streaming, yeah. You can't stream a vacation, but you can stream PTN to plan a great one.
Find the PTN app everywhere that you are.
Impact Interview is sponsored by the Pocono Mountains, where small-town charm meets big adventures. Book your trip today by visiting PoconoMountains.com.
We're back on Nittany Game Week and honored to be joined by the 2022 Pennsylvania Sports Writer of the Year, Audrey Snyder. Audrey, one of the most respected reporters on the Penn State football beat, and is so good at her profession, they want her to teach the upcoming journalists and the next generation as an adjunct lecturer at PSU. Thanks for the time, Audrey. Always a pleasure to catch up with you.
You got to talk. Good to see you, even during, I don't know, do we call it an off season? Is there an off season? You know, what do we call it?
Well, I know I reached out to you about doing the interview, and I said, well, there really isn't any off season anymore, but we'll get to that here in just a minute. You know, first off, it's a shame we really didn't have much to talk about in this last Penn State football season. But look, let's get right to it. One of the wildest 7 and 6 seasons that I think any program has ever had to go through, and you were there for it every step of the way. What's the best way to describe what we all just witnessed for Penn State football, and how challenging was it to stay on top of all of the moving parts?
I'll use the word surreal, but even that doesn't feel like it does it justice. I mean, there are still days where you're like, oh yeah, that happened this year. That happened, right? There was a coaching change in October, a 50-plus day coaching search. Next time we see Penn State football in a meaningful game, they're going to be wearing Adidas and not Nike, right? Like, that gets lost in the shuffle. The fact that your starting quarterback got hurt in October and that so many of your NFL draft hopefuls just didn't really pan out. It was a surreal, bizarre, wacky year. It was strangely also one of my favorite to cover, just because it did not go how any of us thought. It was an absolute challenge trying to stay on top of it every step of the way, because as soon as you thought you could take a breath, that everything was good, at least for a day or two, something else would happen, right? And even all the way down to the wire, when you go through the coaching search and you're like, oh, it looks like they're going to get Kalani Sitake. Oh, wait, no, actually, no, they're not. The search is still going on, and they end up with Matt Campbell. So, yeah, it's been a wild few months, which is also crazy when you try to think back to, oh, yeah, all of this has happened really since October. I mean, it's been crazy.
I don't think anybody thought anything like this would happen. Certainly when James Franklin was pushing his chips into the middle of the table at Big Ten Media Day, saying it was the best roster, coaching staff, and players at that point. Look, the loss to Oregon in overtime began the spiral, of course. But for me, it halftime of the UCLA game where we knew we either had a huge comeback or a close call, or we had one of the greatest upsets in program history on the other side of that, on the bad side of that. So take us through the UCLA debacle and then the scene after the Northwestern loss that, of course, finished off James Franklin in Happy Valley.
Yeah, I mean, that UCLA loss, as you're watching it unfold, you're like, okay, no, this can't happen. This isn't going to happen. There's no way. And then once it becomes clear in the fourth quarter that, oh, yeah, this is going to happen, Penn State's losing this game, in my mind, instantly in that moment, it switched to, okay, it's now time to have the conversation about James Franklin and his future and if it's here, if it shouldn't be. And so that's right where my mind went was, hey, we need to map out whether or not there's a coaching change. And I don't say that lightly. I mean, you're dealing with somebody's livelihood. And I think oftentimes fans will say, oh, this guy should be fired or that guy should be fired. And it's like, you have to be really sure as a reporter when you get to that point and that you don't get there maybe too early. And so I thought I was kind of like right on time with that of, hey, let's have the conversation about James's job. And then when it goes into Northwestern and once they lost that game, I mean, the tenor in the stadium, the boos, I mean, I was surprised. And I've covered this program pretty much every day since 2010 as a student, and I've done it professionally since 2012. And you're covering it and you're like, wow, the home crowd is just totally turned on this coach and this team. And I think maybe some of that is perhaps has to do with NIL and rev share, and you feel as a fan that you're invested, that you're paying for this, and if the product isn't matching your commitment, you maybe feel a little more inclined to vocally, share your displeasure. But yeah, I mean, after that Northwestern game, it was clear to me that something was probably going to happen with a coaching change within the next 24, 48 hours. And at that point, it's like, okay, I got to make sure my story's ready to go. And on top of that, oh, wow, is this actually going to happen? But I mean, the fan reaction, you could not bring James Franklin out for another home game. Like, it had just gotten that toxic. And I think, too, in fairness to him, by doing it in October, it gave him enough time to figure out what he wanted to do, which ultimately helped Penn State get out from under that big buyout.
The coaching search keeps the weird times rolling is the way that I would, phrase it, because we didn't know where it was going to go. He's one of the first ones. There's a vacancy, one of the first ones out there, and then one of the last ones to be filled. So I guess what was that like to try and stay on top of that? Because there was a lot of guys connected to the job that got massive pay raises and maybe were never connected to it. They're talking about the agents behind the scenes, everything that was coming about it, and then ultimately landing with someone they probably should have been looking at the very beginning in Iowa State's Matt Campbell.
For sure. I came up with a list on my Substack, Inside the Lions, right after James Franklin was let go within like the next 24, 48 hours. And I said, hey, if I were to pick three candidates, here's who they are. And among those three was Matt Campbell, because I just think you look at the body of work, you look at the profile, he's consistently done more with less, right? It's less financial resources, it's less commitment from Iowa State. And I think probably a good way for Penn State fans to think about it is a lot of the same things that Campbell was up against at Iowa State in terms of getting their athletic director to commit to the program in this era of rev share is a lot of the stuff that Cale Sanderson was up against when he really didn't want to leave Iowa State, but was like, I can't stay at my alma mater because they just felt that they took it as far as they could. So, I think if you kind of look at it in that context, it's like, yeah, Matt Campbell made a lot of sense, but how Penn State got to that point was certainly interesting, was certainly a journey to say the least. I will say too, coaching search season is crazy in and of itself, but you have to think about who is representing these individuals, which is the agent, and what is the agent floating out there in terms of financial figures, in terms of interest. Are they just trying to get their client a raise, or is the client actually interested? And so Penn State, I talked to a lot of people, but got really far along with Kalani Sitake. But at the end of the day, he changes his mind, stays at BYU, and you're scrambling, trying to get in contact with Matt Campbell, because Matt goes about it so differently in that he has representation, but he's not one of those guys in college football that's always out there looking for another job and trying to move on. So it was certainly interesting how they got there. But at the end of the day, I mean, I think you say, okay, did Penn State get who they should have gotten? I say yes. Did it take them longer to do it than they should have? Absolutely.
Yeah, I think they ended up with the right guy as well. And so let's keep it going chronologically. They just closed the transfer portal, which also brings back the point of the offseason for you. Is there one? So you had to cover that. How do you think they did? And I guess the difficulties of the job now, because you got to stay on top of so much stuff in the offseason. How much has that changed for you?
For sure. I remember my first few seasons when I was at Penn Live, then I was at the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette covering Penn State football, and fans would say, well, it must be great. You probably don't do anything in the offseason, right? Well, there always was stuff to do in the offseason, whether it was like I would do some higher ed stuff at the Post-Gazette covering the Board of Trustees, or you'd cover other Penn State sports, whether basketball, football, because you'd have like the ramp up to signing day, which was different then. Do a little bit of hockey, whatever. Well, now football has become a year-round sport, a year-round coverage. And so for me, you go from literally covering the Pinstripe Bowl to saying, all right, it's the off season now. The season's been done for 12 hours. The portal's coming. Like, who are they going to target in the portal? Penn State has a general manager now. What's the GM thinking? What's the financial strategy? How do you construct this roster, in this era of NIL and rev share? Who are you paying? Who are you paying the most? It is so different. And I think it's a lot for us to wrap our heads around. I think it's got to be a lot for fans to try and absorb too, because it's also, I think about it this way, right? Ethan Grunkemeyer. Penn State fans started to fall in love with this guy's story and the way he improved throughout the season. Well, I went to Ethan's high school for, a story when he was being recruited, met him, met his family. You kind of put in the legwork on those relationships, and it's like, all right, he's gone. Rocco Becht is going to be here for 1 year. I don't know Rocco Becht yet. We've never met, and so you're trying to forge a relationship with a player who will probably be here for, 10 months, by the time it's all said and done. So it's different from that aspect, but yeah, it is totally year-round.
Great perspective from Audrey. Really appreciate the time. Make sure you go to nittany-game-week.com for all of our Impact interviews, along with other web-exclusive content, like our Nittany Connect network of businesses. Don't go anywhere. Still to come, we're just a week away from outdoor hockey at West Shore Home Field at Beaver Stadium. How the preparations for the games are coming together. We're heading into the final minutes on Nittany Game Week.
Pocono Mountain's midweek deals. It's really like the thrill of the race.
Midweek deals are all the thrills you can handle with prices that won't spin you out of control.
Midweek deals give you less of a crowded field to enjoy your stay.
So visit the Pocono Mountains during the week.
The real thrill of the race is winning.
Our midweek deals are a race you can always win. Find midweek deals at PoconoMountains.com.
These are more than just trucks. Every shipment moved by the R&R Express family of companies contributes to the Excel Foundation for Autism Research and Inclusion, funding safe spaces like the sensory room at Penn State's Beaver Stadium and a special event sensory trailer, and giving thousands that were unheard a voice.
Now is the time to amplify non-speaking voices and drive meaningful change.
These trucks are powered by purpose.
Nittany Game Week is brought to you by West Shore Home, official partner of Penn State football.
Welcome back to Nittany Game Week, and what a sight for PSU hockey fans. We find at West Shore Home Field at Beaver Stadium with the men's outdoor hockey game against Michigan State and the women's against Robert Morris about a week away. The outdoor rink in Happy Valley is coming along nicely. This is the first time an outdoor hockey game has ever been hosted at the stadium, which means you can count on the Happy Valley crowd packing out this place in an environment that will no doubt be electric. And sticking with men's hockey, we have a trio of Nittany Lions to shout out who have been nominated for the Hobie Baker Award given to the best player in all of D1 hockey. Freshman players Josh Fleming and Gavin McKenna, along with junior Matt DeMarsico, have all been put up for the award with the incredible seasons they've been having thus far. You name the stat category, you most likely will find one of these guys among the top. Last year, sophomore Aiden Fink became the first ever Nittany Lion to be named as the top 10 finalist for the award. And let's keep the good times rolling with some other standout Penn State athletes. Shifting to women's hockey, we have another Olympian on our hands. Mathilde Fantin has been named to the Italian Olympic team, joining teammates Tessa Janicki and Nicole Hall in Milan. And finally, to track and field, senior Haley Kitching was named the Big Ten Co-Track Athlete of the Week after a record-breaking performance in the women's 1,000 meter last week. Her time of 2:38.45 is a new collegiate record, breaking the previous record set by former Nittany Lions Danae Rivers in 2019.
Solid list there, Ryan. We're bringing PSU fans and alumni together with our Nittany Connect network at nittany-game-week.com. We're partnering with businesses that support the show and letting our viewers know about their great products and professional services. So make sure to check out nittany-game-week.com for all of our web-exclusive content, airtimes for all of our network of stations, previous episodes and interviews. All can be found at one convenient location, nittany-game-week.com.
And while you're visiting the website, make sure to submit your picks from any games or meets you're at. We always finish with some pride picks.
Go ahead and show us your spirit. For Ryan Yee, I'm Todd Sadowski. Thanks so much for watching Nittany Game Week. We'll see you next time.
Every week, our groundskeepers are meticulously mowing, painting, repairing any damage from the previous game in preparation for Saturday. Our contributions to the team are providing safe playing surfaces for the athletes to showcase their abilities on. There's a lot of history here. Being able to be a part of that has been incredibly special for me.